My best friend and roommate hated each other. And I was stuck in the middle. I still remember the first day I moved into that tiny two-bedroom apartment downtown. It smelled faintly of old carpet and burnt coffee, a smell that somehow stuck to the walls like a secret no one wanted to admit. My parents had insisted I get a place with a roommate. It'll save you money, and you'll meet someone nice, my mom had said, as if life came with guarantees. Her words were still echoing in my head as I lugged my last box up 3 flights of stairs. When I opened the door, I found my new roommate sprawled across the couch in sweatpants that had clearly seen better decades. "Hey," she said, not even bothering to get up. Her hair was a messy tangle of curls that framed her sharp, almost mischievous green eyes. "You must be the newbie." "I'm Harper." I nodded, setting my boxes down. "I'm Alex." I didn't know why I suddenly felt nervous. Maybe it was her casual confidence, or maybe I was just overthinking moving into a stranger's space. Harper's presence was overwhelming at first. She had this habit of turning everything into a story, laughing loudly even at her own bad jokes, and somehow making our small apartment feel like a stage. Within a week, though, I found myself talking to her like I'd known her forever. I told her about my job at the bookstore, my obsession with old horror movies, even about my parents' tiny fights over paint colors in our house back home. Everything seemed perfect. Then came Jenna. I met her at a little cafe a few blocks from our apartment. She had short, platinum blonde hair that contrasted with her deep brown eyes, and she wore this old leather jacket that made her look like she'd walked straight out of a movie. She laughed at my jokes before I even finished them, and for some reason, she made me feel like I could actually tell her my deepest thoughts without being judged. We started hanging out almost every day. Lunches, late-night walks, movie marathons. Harper seemed fine with it at first, but I noticed her mood shift in these subtle ways, the corners of her mouth tightening when I mentioned Jenna, or the way she'd suddenly disappear when I said I was going out. I chalked it up to her just needing her space. Fast forward a month, and the tension between Harper and me started creeping into small cracks. It began with the dishes. I'd wash my plate, and somehow it would disappear from the drying rack, only for Harper to accidentally knock it off the counter later. Then came the passive-aggressive notes on the fridge, "Please don't leave your stuff everywhere." "Thanks, Harper." I tried to brush it off, but one night, it exploded. "I can't do this anymore," Harper snapped, voice sharp as she pointed at my open laptop and scattered notebooks. "You're always gone, always somewhere else, and I'm stuck here cleaning up after you." I blinked. "Cleaning up after me?" "Harper, I clean the kitchen every week." "Every week isn't enough, Alex," she yelled, and then, quieter, almost too soft to hear, "You don't even notice what I do for this place." I wanted to say something, anything, to calm her down, but my voice caught in my throat. I felt this weird, sick twist in my stomach, like I'd accidentally broken a fragile part of our friendship I didn't even know existed. Fast forward again, 2 weeks later, and I found myself pacing the apartment at 2 a.m. Jenna asleep on my couch after a movie marathon that Harper had refused to join. Harper came out of her room, rubbing her eyes, and I realized she hadn't slept either. "Why didn't you tell me you were upset?" I asked, almost pleading. "I thought you knew," she said. Her voice cracked, and I swear my heart broke a little. "I thought we were friends." We sat there in silence for what felt like hours. The apartment seemed smaller somehow, like the walls had shrunk while we were arguing. Eventually, she muttered, maybe you just like spending all your time with her more than with me." And in that moment, something in me snapped. "With who?" I whispered. Harper's eyes narrowed. "Jenna." I froze. My mind raced. Had I done something wrong? Had I even realized? I tried to explain. "No, Harper, it's not like that. Jenna's just a friend." I didn't. But she stormed back into her room, slammed the door, and left me staring at the floor, my chest aching in ways I couldn't name. The next morning, the tension was palpable. I tried to make coffee like nothing happened, but Harper barely looked at me. And then Jenna texted me, "Hey, Alex, are you okay?" I think Harper might be upset with me. I wanted to scream. The thought that my two closest connections, my roommate and my best friend, were somehow colliding into this messy triangle I didn't even create made my head spin. By the end of that week, the apartment had turned into a battlefield of silent treatments, snide comments, and cryptic messages. One evening, I came home to find a sticky note on my door, "Maybe think about who you're spending your time with." I wanted to rip it off, throw it away, ignore it. But instead, I felt tears prickling at the back of my eyes. I didn't know how to fix it, or even if it could be fixed. I started avoiding Jenna, afraid Harper would explode if she saw us together. I tiptoed around my own apartment, like it wasn't mine anymore. And then, just when I thought it couldn't get worse, a stranger appeared. It was a woman, maybe in her mid-30s, sharp suit, clipboard in hand. She said she was from the building management. Apparently, someone, Harper, had filed a formal complaint about me. Something about disruptive behavior and unsafe habits in the apartment. My stomach dropped. I tried to explain, but Harper just glared at me like she was enjoying the chaos. That night, Jenna and I sat on the fire escape, whispering under the city lights. I felt so small, so lost. "I didn't mean for any of this," I said. "I know," Jenna said, putting a hand on mine. "But maybe some things aren't about you. Maybe she's just struggling with something else." I nodded, but deep down I knew this wasn't over. And I had a sinking feeling that the misunderstanding, the tension, and the secrets we hadn't spoken out loud were only getting started. The days after the building management visit were a haze. I couldn't look Harper in the eye without seeing that flash of anger, or was it hurt, that she had on the fire escape that night. I started leaving for work earlier, coming home later, tiptoeing around my own apartment like it was a minefield. Fast forward 2 weeks. Jenna and I were having lunch at the little cafe where we first met. The sunlight streamed through the windows, warm and soft, but I couldn't shake the heaviness sitting on my chest. "Alex, you've been avoiding me," Jenna said, her voice gentle but firm. "What's going on with Harper?" I sighed, stirring my iced coffee. She thinks I'm spending too much time with you." I tried to explain, but she doesn't listen. And now, with that complaint, it's like living here is a punishment. Jenna frowned, then leaned closer. "Do you think maybe she's jealous?" I froze, considering. I don't think it's about me. But whatever it is, it's tearing us apart." We didn't finish our conversation because my phone buzzed. It was a text from Harper, "Meet me in the apartment lobby." Now. I froze. My stomach twisted. What could she possibly want now? When I arrived, Harper was pacing, hands twisting the straps of her bag. She looked different. Vulnerable, almost fragile, not the sharp, commanding Harper I knew. "Alex," she said, voice low. I need to tell you something." I nodded, wary. "It's not about Jenna," she said quickly, almost defensively. My brother, he had a bad accident last year. I've been trying to manage everything on my own. I get anxious, I get jealous, I know, but it's not because of you or her. I'm scared. I don't want to lose anyone." My chest tightened. I hadn't known. I'd assumed she was angry, vindictive even, but here she was, raw and honest, admitting her fear. "Harper?" "I had no idea," I said softly. "I thought I was messing up, but you were dealing with this alone." She nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks. "Yeah. And when I saw you with Jenna laughing, I thought you'd choose her over me." I acted horribly. I swallowed hard. I wanted to hug her, to tell her everything would be okay, but I was still wary. Trust had been broken. Fast forward to the evening. Jenna came over, and I decided it was time to confront the situation head-on. Harper was sitting on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, looking exhausted but calmer than she had in weeks. "Jenna," I started, voice trembling. "I want you to meet Harper, properly. I think we all need to talk." Harper looked up, and for the first time, there was no hostility. Just a flicker of hope. The three of us sat down, and I told Harper everything Jenna and I had talked about over the past weeks, the fear, the loneliness, the misunderstanding. Harper listened, nodding slowly, tears in her eyes. Then it was her turn. She explained her brother's accident in detail, how it had left her anxious, isolated, and scared of losing people she cared about. She admitted her jealousy toward Jenna, but also her deep desire to keep our friendship alive. Jenna reached across and took Harper's hand. "You're not alone," she said. "We just didn't know what you were going through. We can help, but you have to let us." And then? Harper smiled. A real, shaky, emotional smile. "I think I want to try. I want to fix this." The tension that had been suffocating the apartment for weeks finally lifted. It wasn't perfect. There were still small, awkward moments, like who cleaned what or whose turn it was to take out the trash. But for the first time, I felt like we were a team again. Fast forward 1 month. The apartment was alive with laughter. Harper had started attending therapy, Jenna and I had been helping her with small errands, and somehow, the misunderstanding that had felt like it would destroy us had actually brought us closer. One evening, we all sat on the balcony, sipping tea, watching the city lights flicker like stars fallen to earth. Harper looked at us and said softly, "I never thought I'd actually feel at home here." I smiled, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders. "You are home, Harper." "We all are." And in that moment, I realized something important. Sometimes, the hardest battles aren't about who's right or wrong, they're about understanding each other, even when it's messy, confusing, and painful. Because beneath the misunderstandings, beneath the tension, beneath the fear, there was love. Real, imperfect, messy love. And that was enough.